Hello, everyone, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Better the Pond Pondcast, where we talk to amazing people doing incredible things that lead the charge of generosity. My name is Warren Berry, and I'm your host and the founder of Instinctive Solutions, where we believe that everyone is an odd duck, but that's what makes them awesome. Today, our guest is Justin Breen. There are not a lot of people that I know that would jump out of a plane without a parachute, but Justin is one of them. The son of a World War II war hero, Justin lives his life with no excuses and is clearly a dad first, business second kind of guy. To the point of only wanting to talk to 0.1% of the population so that the other 99.9% don't take his time away from his family, Justin connects people in a way that is powerful, meaningful, and gets results. Operating from a give to those who get it mindset is Justin's way to better the pond. If you're a dad, be a dad. If you're an entrepreneur, be an entrepreneur. Win in life and family first, business second. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Breen. Justin Breen, you, my friend, are my other visionary wackadoo. And I, my friend, want to welcome you and thank you for your time to join me on the Better the Pond podcast. It is absolutely fabulous to have you.
We the North, my friend.
So you know what, Justin, I want to jump right into the podcast, and I want to jump into your backstory. So here, Justin, what got you from being a gosling? And I mean, let's go way back to your humble beginnings to leaving the nest when you decided to head out on your own, right? To where you are today. And I am sure you got an amazing story. Justin Breen, what is your backstory?
Yeah, I was really excited about this conversation. Everyone has a story. They just don't necessarily know how to like present that, and I was just born with a gift to be able to do that. So today we're recording this April 6th, which I don't usually say, but it's important for this. So April 6th, 2017. My wife surprised me with a trip to the American Club, which is a really nice five-star resort in Kohler, Wisconsin. She surprised me for my 40th birthday, which is April 10th. And so she did that 5 years ago because a couple of months previous, my job salary as a journalist was cut in half, and I couldn't find a job. And my wife's the nicest person I've ever met, so she surprised me with this great 40th birthday trip. And on the way up there, I'm like, oh, I'll start a company. Like, I'll just name it Brepic because BR are the first two letters of my last name, and I always say the word epic. I don't know why I do. I just always do. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll start a company called Brepic. And so, okay, so while I was working full time at half the salary, after I incorporated April 16th, 2017, I reached out to 5,000 people to find my first five clients. So one out of 1,000 said yes. A lot of gosling, a lot of gosling. And then got fifth client on June 1st, resigned June 2nd, and then Robert Feeder, he's a top media columnist in the Midwest of the United States. Did a story, started my own firm on June 5th. So that was just to get the company started. So I was born with a story and a brain that I was able to do that, and I'm very grateful for that. And now I have two global companies that only partner with the world's top entrepreneurs, are the ones who will make the investment to do whatever it takes to become one of those people.
So now we have got up to speed on where you are now. So now guess what? We're going to go way back and we're going to connect the dots. And I want to take you back to when you were a gosling there, Mr. Breen, and what were your humble beginnings? So where were you born? And I want to hear that backstory to bring me up to speed of what you just brought into, because I'm sure there's an amazing story here that'll connect all the dots to who you are and why you do what you do.
Yeah, so you're a maximizer futuristic connectedness. So you're going into the past to harness your maximizer futurist connectedness, which is really interesting. And so I'm activator, maximizer, achiever. So I am full result, 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 result. And so most people, a lot of folks don't know where they come from, so they don't know where they are, and then they don't know where they're going. So I know where I come from at a very high level. It allows me to know where I am right now, and then most importantly, know where I'm going. So I was just born with a story. I was just born, I was just born with this, born to be able to do this. So when I was born,
Where were you
uh,
born, Justin? Where did it
yeah,
all begin? Where were you hatched,
you're
my
gonna have
friend?
six implement this. You're gonna get that's fine. But so I was born in Highland Park Hospital, which is the northern suburb of Chicago, and then I grew up in Northbrook, and technically I live in Northbrook now. I live 2 miles south of where I grew up, and no, so when I was born, my dad was 61 and my mom was 27, so there's a 34-year difference, and
Wow.
yeah, so yeah, wow. I was just born with that. So my dad was a World War II hero, shot down 9 times in combat, many times without a parachute. You get back in the plane, and so he died when I was 13. He died when I was 13. After he died, he became attorney in the Nuremberg trials, president of an insurance company. Came from nothing, no excuses, only investment. And so after he died, I found a diary of his battle fighting in the Hurtgen Forest. That was a very deadly battle toward the end of World War II, German-Belgian border. And so I write exactly like he does. Boom, 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 boom. Result, result. Inform and entertain. I mean, I'm a pretty good writer. That diary is one of the best things ever written. Horrific, horrific. Every single day, horrific. No excuses. And so that's my dad. And then my mom, 27. So in his late 50s, my dad, he was driving on the highway, drunk driver, hit him head on. My dad broke every bone in his body, survived, drunk driver killed instantly, and then my mom was his nurse. So my mom literally nursed him, saved his life. And most of my days talking to people like you, the ultimate, top entrepreneurs. And so I still haven't met anyone in my life who has more hustle than my mom ever. So here I am. I mean, I'm just the byproduct of that. So job salary cut in half, can't find a job, reach out to 5,000 people, get rejected 4,995 times, and figure it out. No excuses.
So let's go back. This is a fascinating story.
Yeah.
So let's go back, growing up, Justin. I mean, obviously, and you can tell you think very differently.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that you've always done that way.
Always.
You've always,
Always.
right? And so growing up, I mean, trying to integrate yourself into school, into
Human.
friends,
Human. Yeah.
yeah, with humans.
Right. Yeah. Because I'm barely a human. I married a human. She's a pediatrician. So she's a full human, and I found people like us usually marry people like that, full humans. But so people like me are usually aliens within their own family verticals and communities. Nobody understands us except the top entrepreneurs on the planet. Um, and certainly when my dad died, there were very few people that understood me. So Northbrook, where I grew up and where I live now, I would describe this as an upper middle class slash wealthier community. This is the one of the cheapest, most cost conscious. It's people playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. It's
Mhm.
people enabled, entitled, as opposed to like going for it. And I never understood that. I mean, I was born. If your plane gets shot down without a parachute, you get back in the plane. That's in my blood at the highest level. Most people here, they don't think like that. Drive nice cars, but it's a different thinking. So no, I didn't even know I was this person, even though I've always been this person. I didn't know it until I started joining top global entrepreneurial groups because I finally realized, oh, these are the only people that understand what I'm talking about. So it was an interesting journey as a journalist. I was a journalist for 20 years and just an entrepreneur who happens to be a journalist. So journalists who are journalists complaining about things or politics or caring about if it bleeds, it leads. I never understood any of that stuff. I just wrote about cool people changing the world, and now with global PR firm, write about cool people changing the world. So there's no difference.
That's really interesting that you say that because you were saying about how typical journalism is, just talk about the negativity and what's wrong, and you just couldn't see that. You
Never
saw through it,
understood it.
never understood it. So you saw the world through a different lens. And
Yes.
you also mentioned too, a saying about basically joining sort of global entrepreneur groups, and we had talked earlier before too, and we both have been involved with Strategic Coach. which has been a fabulous. I can only speak on my own behalf. A fabulous journey of
Yes.
working with other world class entrepreneurs who actually understand the way that we think.
Yes.
So so you were always this way. And do you remember sort of a defining moment, Justin, that where that kind of clicked in, where you thought differently, you looked at the world differently, but then you actually took that and put that into action? Was there a moment that everything kind of just clicked for you?
I've done hundreds of interviews since starting this journey, and that's one of the better questions anyone's ever asked me. Um, I think it was after I actually became an entrepreneur that actually happened. But here's a moment I can think within that actually happening. So I'm really glad you asked that, because this is how I learn in real time. This is what I love about doing interviews, is because I actually learn something about myself, and then it helps all my partners in PR too, because then hosts want to interview them as well. But this is how I learn. And so what happened was, maybe a year into it, I think I was in it was like a $250 a year group, because everything for me has always been an investment. There's no cost, and I had no idea what this world even was. And so one of the people in that room, we went out to a grocery store for lunch, and I was talking to him like this, and he goes, "I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, but the person who runs my company does." And he introduced me to that person, and that person is Gary Clavin. So he's a coach and strategic coach. He's in Abundance 360. Um, he's an 8 quick start with a 5 follow through. But he graduated first in his Army Rangers graduating class, so he was able to control all that to graduate first in his Army Rangers graduating class. And so Gary's like, you're not $250 a year group. You're 10,000 plus, 25,000 plus a group. I'm like, oh, okay. So joined strategic coach, and it's really been like before coach and after coach, BC, ACs. But that's the one moment that I really think about now that you asked that, because it was like the bridge between no one understanding what I'm talking about to meeting people that actually understood what I was talking about.
And was that sort of a moment of clarity for you, or was it kind of like a weight off your shoulders to realize that, I mean, one of the questions I asked about is about being an odd duck, and we're going to get there. But having that understanding, like, hey, I'm not alone. I'm not the only one, and I'm not on an island.
Well, again, because people like us are usually aliens within our own family, community, verticals. We're just aliens. I mean, we're barely human. We're kind of human, but not really. I mean, I would say that, I've quantified it without quantifying it. My firm's partnered with maybe 0.1% of the population, maybe not one out of 100, one out of 1,000. And the beauty is when you meet those one out of 1,000, they introduce you to another one out of 1,000. So it becomes a big small world. I mean, all my companies are just big small worlds of people like us. That's it's just a collaborative platform for people like us. But it was so nice. Um, it was so nice to have communication where it was more than a one-way conversation. Because otherwise, I'm still doing the same conversation, but no one's listening. And so now it's actually great, because I like being the dumbest person in the room. I don't want to be the smartest person in the room. I like being the dumbest. So I keep making bigger investments to be in smaller rooms, but the people in those rooms are making bigger impact. So bigger investment, smaller room, bigger impact, bigger investment, smaller room, bigger impact. And that allows me to have biggest investment in smallest room, which is my family, my wife, and my 2 young sons, where I can make the most impact. So it's the same formula. I just apply it to my family. Yep.
Wow, that is fabulous.
Yeah.
Just listen, just really listening to you, Justin. Would you say that this is going to sound like a funny question, but that our entrepreneurs, they're born not made?
100%. Yeah. So it's 100% with a caveat of what I'll say now. So you're either born someone like me or you're not. I'm very convinced of that because I think most people would choose to make as much money as you want to, see your family and friends whenever you want to, do what you like to do and what you're good at, only collaborate with one type of person. So I think most people would say, oh, sign me up for that. But then the caveat is, well, you have to overcome at least one of the following four things. Most of the people I talk to are two or three, and then I talk to a lot of all fours. So the four things that you likely have to overcome, at least one of them, is bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy, two, depression, three, the highest level of anxiety you can imagine, and four, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. So most people, they just use those as excuses their whole life. People like me, figure it out. So I either think you're born like that or not. Now, what I will say is if you're born someone like me and you don't even know it because I mean, most of the world's not like us. They're not like us. So what you can work on is your mindset. So certainly since becoming an entrepreneur, I've just built an impenetrable mindset and keep doing that every single day. And all that does is attract people with the right mindset, and it repels people that make excuses. That's all it does.
It's interesting going back to your story about your father, right? Is been shot down multiple times, a lot of times without a parachute.
Right.
Get back in the plane. I mean,
Well, that's my litmus test. So anytime there's a little, oh, maybe I'll make an excuse here. Nope. And then my wife and we met the day before she started medical school. So if there's anything comparable to this, it's going to medical school. And then my mom, her husband died. She had four children. My youngest brother, unfortunately, died of a drug overdose. He was 29 to be about 40 now. Okay, well, obviously devastated, but figure it out. So those are the three people, I guess that have impacted me the most. So they don't make excuses. So, I mean, starting two global companies with zero business background, that's pretty easy compared to what my parents and what my wife have overcome.
One of my things that I've learned over time is about failing forward and right and not failing backwards. So to keep failing forward, and I think that it has a lot to that entrepreneurial mindset, and it goes back to the point of no excuses. Just fail, grow, fail, grow, fail, grow, fail, grow, and just keep failing forward.
Right.
And there's growth. And when you do fail, there's no excuses. It's just an opportunity for growth.
Yeah, I don't even believe in the F word. I don't even say it. I'll every now and then I will if someone brings it up. But like as Dan Sullivan says, you're either winning or learning. So I agree with that. I don't even. So I've been reading this book. I just finished it. It's called Hero on a Mission by Donald Miller. And so Man's Search for Meaning is number one. I mean, that's the ultimate Viktor Frankl. And so this is like a newer version of that. So here's the formula for a life of meaning. Okay, so this is it, right? So one, take action creating a work or performing a deed. Two, experience something or encounter someone that you find captivating and that pulls you out of yourself. So this conversation is an example of that. Three, this is where most people stop and make excuses, but people like us, figure it out. So three, have an optimistic attitude toward the inevitable challenges and suffering you will experience in life. Yeah, so that's great. I mean, that's entrepreneur life is suffering and challenges. But okay, great. That's what makes it fun because that's the only way you learn anything is by actually doing something, taking action, and then learning what happens. And so most people they just retreat into safety, security, not willing to try anything. Certainly not willing to risk getting into a plane without a parachute. But like entrepreneurs like us, we just go, and you're a full pioneer. But I mean, you're a full pioneer. Literally, that's what your Colby is. So you're looking out over the mountain for gold, and most people won't even think about climbing the mountain. So that's what's really interesting about you.
Yeah, and it's as Kathy Colby said to me one day, which is always one of those words that always stuck with me, right? Is like, you will hack and slash through the forest with a machete just to see what's on the other side.
Well, so I didn't know that, but that's what I mean. So sometimes, like I answer the question before it's even asked. So what I've learned in 5 years of living in this world, which I've always been in, I just didn't know it, is that my greatest skill set is seeing the patterns about things, and then, but more importantly, actually taking action and doing something about it. So what you just said there, that it's the same thing I just said in a different way, with a cooler person behind it, with Kathy. That's pretty awesome that she's. And for those who don't know, Kathy Colby started Colby, which is to me the ultimate simplifier, for sure.
Yeah. And so, I mean, just for the fact of our listeners, so they know what we're talking about is,
Right.
Colby is a tool
Not a key.
to find out what your conative strengths are. There's I always tell the word conative is a new Scrabble word for most people. But it's our problem solving strategy. It's how we take action, and it's our innate ability to problem solve our own way. And what's really interesting, it doesn't change, and it is completely reliable. And how I do things and how Justin does things are very, very different, but yet we're still trying to get to the same end goal, right?
Collaborative. It's very I mean, it's almost completely different. What's fascinating about you is you're Colby Twins with my partner. I'm in Chicago area. My partner's in San Francisco, also in strategic coach. We've met one time in person. So you're a 2.486. Mark is a 1.596. He used to be a 2.586. So he was almost exactly your Colby twin, but he retook it. And so he's the only one fact finder I've ever met, ever. And I'm an 8 fact finder. So that you would think there'd be a lot of tension there, but it's not. It's actually very collaborative.
That's interesting, and I've yet to meet a one fact finder. So when I meet Mark will be the first. My daughter's a one in follow through, so she's the only one I've met as well. And
what's her quick start? What is her quick start?
9.
Oh my God.
3196. She is a Spitfire, and I love her to bits, and she is so amazing. So she'll be starting on her entrepreneurial journey.
Oh my God, that will be. How old is she?
She's now 21. She's living in France.
Oh my God, that's an incredible Colby. My 9-year-old's a 3296. Now this is certainly not the case all the time, but usually like 3196s. They not always, but usually they are with a stabilizer. Like my wife's an 8742. She's a lower quick start, higher follow through. Now there are exceptions to that. Dan and Babs, the co-founders of Strategic Coach, Dan's a 10 quick start, Babs is a 9, and so then they just Strategic Coach is there. Yeah, so your daughter's that Colby is, wow. Think of yours with like pumped up with like adrenaline. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really super exciting to watch her navigate the world, and it's very exciting to see where she's going to go, because it is the possibilities are
there are no limits to that. There's no. Was school really hard for her? It had to be really annoying, right?
The thing is that it was really nice in a way, because I understood how she problem solved, so I could actually support her.
Templated
So I always tell her when I'm doing workshop is say that, if my advice was here, just do one thing at a time, is really, really well-meaning, really bad advice. And so she would she would just jump. She really just made her way through. But she got awards. She got awards, and for arts, and for drama class, and for all those things. And that was, that's where she shone. And when it came down to, algebra and English and those kind of things, it was. Right. She had to work hard at it, but really the gratification that she got out of school was when she got to, be artistic, and she got to just kind of wing it, and that's what drove her.
So your daughter's 21, my son is 9, and like these conversations, the number one, there's not even a close second, but the greatest thing about being someone like this is that my kids get to see that this world even exists, because I didn't know. And then so your daughter is like my son evolved. She's further along on the journey. So like my little guy, he's 7. He's a 4.294, but we'll have him retake it. He's a stabilizer like my wife. But like that, my kids get to see this and then do whatever they want with it is fine. But like to just know that certainly my oldest, he's definitely an alien like I am, but like at least know that there's other people like that out there, and that like school's great, it's fine, but like it's not the end all be all.
Mhm.
So thank you for giving me that information about your daughter, because like my son, he loves to draw and build stuff. I mean, I can barely tie my shoes. I'm a one implementer. And I'm not kidding. Like, I don't know how to hold a pencil right. I don't know how to do it. But like most of the people I partner with have Colby someone like yours or like 3393, because it's like idea, 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 idea. And then I'm like, no, 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 yes, immediately simplify, immediately connect. So
Right.
it just works.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I want to jump on to the next question here, Justin, because it's leading into this though. Like you preempted this, right?
Okay.
So so Justin, I mean, I believe that we're all odd ducks. I believe that we're all misfits.
Yes.
And so I want you to tell me about a time where you didn't fit in. I mean, it could be positive or
One
negative.
time?
Well, just think about, we've only got so much time here. I gotta be a good steward of time, right? And what have you done differently to stand out? And like what makes you you? What makes you an odd duck?
So even in strategic coach world, I'm an odd duck. Um, and even in like entrepreneur world, I'm an odd duck. And here's what I mean. Here's what I mean. So like you don't go into journalism because of employee count, office space, integrating, visionary. If you don't like that, I didn't like. I took zero entrepreneurial classes, business classes in college, zero. And so it's always been about purpose, spending time with family, changing the world. First, it was through journalism. Now it's this connecting people and sharing their stories with the world. But I talk to at least one person. Now it's more like 2+ people a week that has let entrepreneur life destroy their family life or prevented them from ever having a family. And I am not that person. I am just a
Hmm.
dad who happens to be an entrepreneur. I am not a business owner. I don't care about any of that organizational I don't care about any of that stuff. And I never have. And business owners who think they're entrepreneurs, when we have this discussion, it's a very puzzling discussion because I don't know what they're complaining about and they don't understand what I'm talking about. They don't. It's a complete lack of connectivity. Now, entrepreneurs who are changing the world, they care about purpose and spending time with family, collaborating. They really do understand me, but almost all of them had to go through like business owner stuff, and I've just never been that. I'm just not that person. I'm just completely. I just don't care about any of that stuff. It's totally meaningless to me.
So that's an interesting point because then in the world that you're in, I mean, you're dealing with entrepreneurs, trying to tell stories, and so when the we'll say the business owner, is having a conversation with you and they're talking about the business and strategy and the organizational development and all that, that structure, and you're saying, I really don't care.
Well, not only do I not care, but most people don't care. So as a journalist, I was annoyed hundreds of times a day. You get these useless press releases from people you don't know. So those press releases talk about all that stuff that you just talked about, and no one cares. So
Mhm.
my firm creates actual stories about people doing cool things about them, of like how you interviewing me. That's what people care about, and then you talk a little bit about what you do, but that's what people care about. So it's just solve a problem, create a solution, problem solve, successful global company. So it's the same. It's the same formula. You see a problem, create solution, problem solved, and then you just solve the problem. So it works anywhere, any location, any vertical, any company size. That doesn't matter. It just solves the problem. But no, I mean, it's just a different. It doesn't interest me in any capacity at all. Now I'm glad there are people that do care about
Mhm.
that, because the visionaries that create these huge companies, those are the ones that change the world. And then my brain just simplifies the message and connects them to the world. But
Mhm.
the only people I really want to talk to are the ones running the company, because otherwise it's a pointless conversation.
I just listening to you, Justin, I would love to be on the other side of your eyeballs.
You are.
And just to see, and I guess it goes back to being the odd duck. And I don't know if you can describe this for me or not, but I would love you just give me a kind of a synopsis of how do you see the world? How do you because you can take things, you see
Yeah.
things that other people do not see.
Hmm.
Can you describe that for me?
Sure. So genius IQ is 140 and above. That's 1% of the population. 1%. Dan Sullivan's a 142, but and so I'm a 139. 139. And IQ is based on pattern recognition. So I am 1 point below genius of pattern recognition. So technically, I'm not a genius, and I'm actually glad. I'm actually glad because 140 and aboves have a hard time communicating with humans. Um, and so what I figured out is I'm actually a bridge between people like that to humans. I can actually that's literally how I see it. Okay, and so that's one. Two, this is my entire litmus test for how I see the world because I'm very direct and people like you appreciate that and then people that aren't like you, they don't understand and they go away very quickly, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Okay, so here's my litmus test. This is it. So most of my day is talking to people like you, or spending time with my family. So if I'm talking to someone and it's not someone like you, if it's not someone like you, not a visionary, not someone who lives in abundance, someone who looks at things as costs, not investments, I will never talk to that person again. Because all that person's going to do is take time away from me and my family. Someone like you who can add value to my life and I can add value to theirs, talk to them forever because they allow me to spend more time with my family. That is it. That is how I see the world.
Very, very well. It's very, very clear.
Well, right,
Oh,
because and so most people like us are very unclear. They're idea, 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 idea. They're all over the place, and they can't. There's no clarity. So that's my skill set. I can immediately provide clarity, simplify, and then immediately connect. That's why it works.
right. No, I was going to say because what you just described to me is very clear to me. But I think a lot of people would look at it I'm talking to, and it would look very messy or very muddy, because
Right,
they
so
wouldn't
they're winning the wrong game, and I
when
don't.
they're
Right, so
right,
I don't talk to people like that because they take time away from me and my family.
right. No, that's very, very, very clear. All right, so now we know what makes you an odd duck. So now the next question is, which I highly respect. Can you tell me though, Justin, about a time where someone did something for you that made an impact on your life?
Yeah, so my dad, he died when I was 13. So I got age 5 to 13 of memories. Every day he said the cream rises to the top, the cream rises to the top. So I'm just partnering with the cream that rises to the top or the people that will do whatever it takes. So, my dad continues to be my hero, even though he's long gone. And then that diary is just a daily reminder. I'll go into the basement. It's safely kept, but every now and then I'll go down there and read it to look for clues. Look for clues. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm very lucky, and I don't believe in randomness. I mean, how my parents met, that's not random. That was meant to be. But to have a father like that, and my mom too, but to have a father like that with that type of wisdom who had survived all that, and then to pass that down to me. So I'm like an old, my dad was born in 1916, so like I should have been born in like I don't know, 1945 or something. So I
Mm-hmm.
should be like 80, late 70s, early 80s. So, and then I'm about to turn 45. And then I have the childish mindset of maybe a 4-year old. I mean, my mindset's actually regressing in terms of childish. I keep getting more and more kid like, which is good though. People like us are usually little kids inside.
I think that is a fantastic point because, um, and I think there's a big difference between being childish and childlike, and
100%. Oh, that's good. I like that.
I believe that people, I guess, have that childlike behavior where we actually because it's about play,
It's
right?
about play. You want me to dovetail that because what you just said is very profound, very profound. And so my brain, IQ is pattern recognition. So all my brain does is takes complexity and simplifies it into patterns. I don't know why it does it, but it does.
Hmm.
So a couple days ago, I posted on social media eight. Most of my days talking to people like you. So that's 5 years of just talking to people like you. So I've identified eight traits of people like you. I guess like me too. Well, it definitely like me, but so here are the eight traits of entrepreneurs, not business owners, not consultants, not humans, not employees, just people like us. So one is action takers, two, investment minded, three, incredibly intelligent but usually not scholastic. Not scholastic, but intelligent. Yeah, you let right. Some of my partners barely graduated high school. I did. Okay. Four is
Only know the
givers.
story.
Right. Yeah. Right. Four is givers. Five, responsible and would never blame others. Six, childish at heart, which is childlike. Maybe I'll change that to childlike. Seven, nonconformist to the highest degree, odd ducks. Okay, and then eight. This is the good one. This was my favorite. Winners in life and family first, and in business second. Those
Mm,
are the eight things that I've seen.
that I like. Winners and winners in life first and
Life and
business second.
family first.
Life and
Yeah.
family first. I'm
Yeah.
writing that down.
Oh, here I'll send it to you.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I love it. Um, and so, you know, going back to your father, I mean, obviously, and you had in the big scheme of things, it's a short amount of a short amount of time that you got to spend with him, obviously, but he obviously left a very, very big impact on your life, even just and through that, just through his memoirs and through right his experiences.
Yeah, I mean, and it if you look at if you look at the word time, like physical time, maybe not a lot, but in here and in people can't see in my head and in my heart, that will never. And so there's a really interesting secondary part to that is that's why I'm not an entrepreneur who happens to be a dad. I'm a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur because I know what it's like not to have a dad around, and I would never ever ever. This is where like the barely human in me comes out, but I would never let this life destroy my family life. I would never be that. I would just never be that person because I know what it's like not to have that person around. So I would never do that to my sons ever.
Mhm. Yeah, and it's unfortunately it's not that uncommon.
Oh, it's very
Families,
in this world.
families
Well,
blow
I
up,
mean,
right?
again, I talk to at least again probably two or more people a week that have let this life destroy their family life or prevented them from even having a family. I was talking to a guy. Um, um, he was an 8 quick start and a 3 follow through. This was a really interesting conversation. Um, and he was like, I realized with my brain that it would be unfair of me to have a family. So he never even tried to have a family. He never even tried to get married. And I was like, that was very noble of you. That was a very selfless act um, to be like that. But I haven't. That's the only time I've had that type of conversation.
Mm,
But you know, I, you know, many times. I mean, I don't think it's the majority over 50%, but many times people like us, they're they they're just focused on revenue. They're focused on employee count. They're focused on these material measurements,
hmm.
not meaningful ones. And then they
Right.
realize too late that that stuff doesn't matter, or they never realize it at all. And I'm just not. I, I'm just not that person. I don't understand it because I was a journalist for 20 years. You don't, that's not why you go into that.
A good friend of mine said to me one time, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
That's the simplification.
And I
Yeah.
thought,
Well, if our low follow through, there's no checking because
go.
let's go. Right.
Yeah.
But that's the value I mean, that's the greatest gift you could have ever give someone with your daughter's Colby score.
Hmm.
You've given her that time. I mean, that is the greatest gift any parent could ever with someone with that Colby, because there's no checking. I mean, there's no. But she knows like, okay, well, this is how my brain is. So
yeah, and I was fortunate enough when she was 10 to do her first Colby Y index back in the day, right? So I got, my as a parent, my job wasn't to tell her what to do. My job was to actually keep her between the ditches and let her bounce around and let her bounce around and find her way, right? And but keep but keep supporting her along the way. And it's been really fascinating to actually watch her grow, right? And live a life of excitement versus just a life.
well, right, and you've given her 21 years of a good foundational bumper system, so she has that now in place.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and that's I mean, that is so like on Strength Finders, there's 34 of them, the Gallup Clifton. So number 34 for me is empathy, number 34. And number 33 is includer. Um, and but for people like you and for your daughter, like that, people like that, I have endless, like the way you describe that, I can feel it so strong. Like it gets me emotional actually because of the gift you've given her. Regular people that make excuses, I just can't. I'm trying. I can't. My wife's she's a pediatrician. She's probably one in empathy, maybe two.
Mm-hmm.
So and then my partner for new company, he's three in empathy, which is really rare for people like us.
Mm-hmm.
Really rare. So, but that's what I try to do every day is like, I try to be more empathetic. I really am trying, but it's really hard for me to understand people who make excuses. It's really hard. I just doesn't compute.
Right. No, absolutely. All right. To be a good steward of time, my friend. So, well, here's where I want to get to this, to Brepic and whatnot. So my question to you is, Justin, is what are you doing presently right now to better the pond? What are you doing to make the world a better place? And the second question is, why are you doing it? Here's your time to shine, my friend.
Well, all I do is communicate with people like you and connect people like you to other people like you. So, I partner with the 0.1% because those are the only ones that will actually do something to change the world. So that's how I change the world. Most people are going to make excuses their whole life, so and take away time from me and my family. So
Mm-hmm.
that just allows me to see my family whenever I want to and to change the world in my own unique, odd duck way. I mean, and I never get tired of this. It's very lucrative. It's incredibly fun. It allows me to act like a kid. Um, and like I'm endlessly fascinated with brains like yours, like endlessly. It's just amazing to my 8 fact finder that there's brains like this, and I get to partner with all these amazing people who are changing the world, who will never make excuses, and then I get to connect them to other people, and it just grows. There's no limits to it. It just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows and grows, and like so, most people are like, oh, 0.1%, that's a small number. I'm like, no, no, you're not living in abundance. So there's 8 billion people, right? 8
Right.
billion. So 0.1% is 8 million. That's a lot.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of
That's a
people.
lot of brains.
That's a lot of brain. And the 0.1% is the only ones that are going to actually do anything to create opportunities for the 8 billion. So
Right.
that's how I do it. That's why I do it.
So, can you tell my listeners too a little bit more about Brepic and about just a little more about that so that I can so it's let's show it off a little bit. Put a spotlight
Okay.
on it.
Thanks. Sometimes I don't like to land the plane because I'm just flying around like my dad in the plane. No, I mean, global PR firm only partners with visionaries who live in abundance and who look at things as investments, not cost. And all I hear over and over is we're tired of being the best secret. We want to be in more news and more media, usually on a global level, but many times it's national and regional. And then it's immediately simplifying your story and immediately connecting them to people like you and Forbes and Private Wealth and Inc. and Entrepreneur. So that's easy. And then the new company is just technology for that. It's high price point, invite only connectivity platform. So that's a lot of fun.
It's so interesting, and outside of the podcast here, but just talking to you when we first met, and immediately through that conversation, you already connected me with two people. and I've yet to connect with them. One is on Friday, as a matter of fact, and one just didn't work out yet. But it was interesting going back, because within a hour long conversation, you're like, oh, you need to talk to so and so, right?
Right.
And it was just nonchalant, and nothing in it for you, but just naturally connecting like-minded people.
Yeah, so one, thank you for saying that. Two, I simplify into patterns. I don't know why, but that's how it does. And then so there's 4 stages when you start a company that I've seen. 4 stages. So one is get to get. So that's most people get to get. Then there's get to give. So you're mostly getting, giving a little, but mostly getting. So then there's give to get. You give, but deep down you're still trying to get a little bit, and most business owners stop. That's where they stop. Then you get to the level where we're at. You give, but only to the people who get it. So I'm constantly giving, but only to the people who get it, because if you don't get it, that damages people who do and annoys them. So, and then talk to me is meaningless without providing an answer and taking action. So
Right. But that's very inspiring, though, to listen to that, Justin. And I think you're obviously very humble, but the give to give, to get it, right?
to the people who get it, yeah.
Yeah, the people who get it, right, is not the norm. Like, I
Right,
mean,
but I don't live in that world. I don't live in normal, but that's my point, and that's why I'm so direct, because um, so most people, they stop at the start. So like, oh, you reached out to 5,000 people to find 5 clients? Yeah, well that's entrepreneur life. I mean, so most people stop it there, and then they question this, and I'm like, well, no, I mean, everyone in my world thinks like that, and that's why it's only the 0.1%, but the 0.1% introduces you to other 0.1%.
right,
So it eliminates what do you cost or charge? It eliminates I haven't done outbound anything in years,
right,
because all I do is create value for the people who get it, and they create value for me, because why wouldn't you do that?
right. Fabulous.
Right. It solves the problem, and then probably not on this show, but in many things, most people have no idea what we're talking about. The people that get it, they're like, "Oh, great, let's go." So solves that problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also goes back to the point of like attracts like, and
100%.
right, and so the people will naturally gravitate energetically to it anyway.
That's correct. So there's three. I just wrote the manuscript for my second book, and I'm very grateful. Peter Diamandis wrote the forward for it, so that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, right. I mean, I have zero business background now. Someone like Peter Diamandis is writing forward for me, and I'm very grateful. So there's 3 chapters devoted to people who aren't like us. So 1 is time vampires, 2 is mediocre, and 3 is boring. So there's those 3 types of people. So the reason why I ignore that / repel those is because you can't create when you're chasing time. So I have all this time to do what I want to and hang out with the people that I want to, and that just allows me to create what I want to, the life I want for me and my family.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I mean, the ultimate of an entrepreneurial based lifestyle, because you're creating it, right? You're creating, right? You're actively. Yes, absolutely.
Every day.
So, so looking back and looking forward, Justin, and the lessons that you've learned along the way, can you kind of paint me a picture of what I call the golden pond, or what do you envision for the future, and what does that look like for you?
I'm very low and futuristic, and you're very high. So I appreciate you asking someone who's very low and futuristic that question. I think you're second in futuristic on your strength finder. Mm-hmm. So we have a 10-year vision board and a 5-year vision board. It's upstairs. And so I guess my 10-year vision board when I'll be 54 is to have a foundation under the Brepic name to help entrepreneurs who are younger, like actually people like your daughter, frankly. Um, um, I applied to be a coach and strategic coach already. That's a 10-year. And then I think it was 200 free days. Free days, for those who don't know, is where you don't do anything other than, well, you don't do anything other than what you want to do. So that's the 10-year goal. But like, You know, I'm literally only spending time with my family or completely within my zone of genius. There's nothing else. So I'm just very grateful for that I have this brain where I'm very very direct and able to compartmentalize things and then execute. So I'm very grateful for that. So right now I'm very happy and pleased with the progress, knowing that I'll just keep making more and more progress and continue to get back in a plane without a parachute. I'll never stop doing
I love it. Maybe I could keep getting back. I have to say that again. I have to keep getting back into the plane without a parachute.
Right. Yeah, I'll just keep getting into the plane without a parachute. I mean,
Yeah.
that's entrepreneur life because the ones that don't do that, um, the retire word, that doesn't no. No. I never understood that. No, because then you stop learning. So.
It's funny. That question was in my head, and it was just going to be actually for kind of for a funny point of saying, do you believe in that word? I already knew the answer to it before I was
My
going to.
wife can't wait. She can't wait. She can't wait to retire. Well, that's fine. I'm glad I married her but no, that is not happening. I'll just keep creating something else and you know
Yeah,
doing cool things.
yeah. That word does not hit my vocabulary either.
Right.
So Justin, here's my last question of the day.
Yes.
If you were standing on top of a mountain and the whole world was intently listening to you, what would you have to say?
Uh, if you're a dad, be a dad. That's it.
If Say that again.
If you're a dad, be a dad. That's all I would say.
Do you want to expand on that, or you want to leave it right there?
If you want me to expand, I mean, so if you're going to be a father, you be a dad. So I never understood parents or dads that didn't play with their kids or didn't spend time with them. So if you're a dad, be a dad. I mean, my dad was a great dad, and I'm a pretty good dad. So that's it.
One of the things that I do as well, is I can connect dots pretty easily.
Yeah, you're good at
And so, but one of the things that what you said was really important. Whenever I do a podcast, I always try to link it back into what, it's something that you were doing when you were younger, is something that we end up doing. How do we do one thing is how we do everything, right?
Yes.
So if you're a dad, be a dad. And if I may, expand on that just a little bit, because I think that if you're a dad, you're a father, be there, help, nurture,
Mm-hmm.
you're all in. But when I hear you say that, and if I was to apply that to what you're doing with Brepic, I would say it's kind of the same thing.
100%. Yeah, because my strength finders are activate, maximize, achieve, competition, even though there is no competition, it's all collaboration. And the fifth one is responsibility. So if you're going to do it, you do it. If you're going to say you're going to do something, do it. Talk to me is meaningless without actively doing something about it. So absolutely, it's the same formula. If you're going to be a dad, be a dad. If you're going to be an entrepreneur and someone invests in you and your business, then you then you do it. You do the job. So that's the exact same thing. So good dot connecting there.
Yeah. All right. So you know what? I want to thank you ever so much, for your time today. I thank you for your stories. God, it's so fantastic talking to people like you. Now, if my listeners want to go and find you, Justin, where do they go?
Sure. Thank you. So this is a great conversation. So I'm only mentioning my company's website because there's a reason why. So it's brepicllc.com, B as in boy, R-E, P as in pony, I, C as in cobra, LLC.com, brepicllc.com. And the reason why is there's a mindset scorecard survey there. It takes 5 minutes. And so people love taking it, and they actively qualify or disqualify themselves with their own mindset. And if they look at something where they don't qualify with it, they're like, maybe this is where I need to flip the script. So strongly encourage folks to to take that survey.
And also you have your book, Epic Business. And I have to throw that out there. So where can we go and find that?
Yeah, it's an international bestseller in Canada, so, and then 5 other countries. But I mean, it's anywhere you can. I'm very grateful. Chris Foster wrote Never Split the Difference did the forward for that one, and yeah, it's been a key that opens up endless doors. So if you like how I talk, the directness, the book is the exact same way, and it's very similar to my dad's diary, just very direct.
So that's Epic Business. They can go online, go to basically anywhere you go to buy a book. Yep. And BrepicLLC.com.
Yes, sir.
And do the scorecard there, and you can self-select in, self-select out. Makes it all right. So there you have it, folks. You had a great time here with Justin Breen. This was fantastic. I have nothing but high respect for you and for everything you're doing. I appreciate the fact that you're such an odd duck, because you're the guy, but you're the guy who's, you're connecting people, you're making things happen. It's no excuses, right? You're in the plane, you're without a parachute, and you're just like, go. But what I truly, truly respect is that you are a dad first.
Same exact thing for you, my friend. You're a dad first.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So this is Warren Barry, and I'm flocking off to take you beyond the pond to better the pond, because we're better together. Thank you ever so much, Justin.
Thank you, and go Flames.
Good ending.